Hello, everyone. I think we are live now. It says live on my screen, so hopefully it's live. Um, so if you're new to coming to one of these webinars on air, it uses, as its base, it uses Google Hangouts. And it's a really neat program. And what you're able to do, if you move your mouse over to the far side here, you will see a blue box up towards the top. That's the chat box. If you click on the chat box, it will enable chat for you, and you'll come up on my chat screen. There we go. Hey, Janelle. Uh, um, so anybody who wants, and there's 4 people in attending right now. So to get onto the chat screen, all you have to do is move your mouse over to this side, up towards the top. You'll see the square box. And if you click on that, chat will open for you. So I encourage everybody to do that, because then I can actually see who's here. And I see that I have 6 attendees. Oh, hi, John. Yeah, it's an absolutely really easy program to use. I've played with it a couple of times, done a couple of little broadcasts with it. And what it does is make Google Hangouts easy, which is a big plus, because doing it from Google Hangouts. Hi, Brian. Awesome to have you on board. Really glad you could make it. Yeah, it's the same format as that Eric uses. And that's where I first saw it in action. And I've been looking, I know Marion's been looking, I know John's been looking for a platform that would do everything I wanted it to do and still be fairly easy to use and not too expensive to use. Now, it is a paid for program, and right now I'm on the low end, a maximum of 25 attendees. But for me right now, this is really the system that I like so far. And what's amazing is there's all kinds of things you can do with this. There's lots of add-ons here that that are really great to use. And one of those is that you can actually do paid broadcasts. So you can do a broadcast and set it up so that people can pay to come to a broadcast that you do, which is one thing that I'm considering in the future. And there's a whole bunch of features in the background that I haven't used a lot yet, but hope to start doing before too long, as I go through and get more comfortable with this format. One of the first things I want to mention is, if you're not on my list, I'd really love to have you on my list. And up at the top of chat, you'll see there's a link there. If you go there, you can fill out your information to join my list. I do have a free bonus right now. That bonus is a PDF which explains how I work my downlines in ClickTrack Profit. And I show you how you can do work your downlines in some of the other traffic exchanges as well. Hi, Adrian. Awesome to have you on board. That's great. Love to see you. That's really something. If you're not on my list, I really would love to have you on my list. And one of my things that I really guarantee you is that my list isn't like anybody else's list you're going to be on. Guaranteed. But for once, you got notification of me doing these shows. So there we go. Just once again, for people, if you're attending the first time you've been on one of these webinars on air, if you go over to the top left corner, there's a blue square. If you click on that, that will bring you up in chat. So that's awesome. So I want to get down to a few things. So I wanted to start off because it's I call this broadcast Getting Out from Between the Lines. And too often, basically the reason I call that is we tend to get stuck between the lines, thinking the way society has kind of regulated us into working between the lines. You know, you write between the lines, you color between the lines. I'm losing my focus, is going in and out, and that shouldn't be happening, but I don't know whether I can fix it right at this point. Hi, Ken. Awesome to have you aboard. I had to search out another tab. Oh, okay. Thanks for having you on board. I wanted to start off with something mind-blowing, because this is what this program is all about. And I'm just going to find the quote here. Now, this is the new book I'm reading from. It's You Are the Placebo, from Dr. Joe Dispenza. Now, I've been to a lot of his workshops. He's excellent. And yeah, actually, we are. And that's why I wanted to, Janelle, absolutely right. And that's the reason why I wanted to work on how do we get away from that conditioned thinking, because we have it. That's why sometimes getting outside the box is really hard to do, because we are so conditioned to the box that we're not sure how we get out of it. Hi, Brenda. Great to have you aboard. So I wanted to talk, this is a quote, and this I thought was mind-boggling. It says, if you took all the DNA out of your entire body and stretched it out from end to end, it would go to the sun and back 150 times. Isn't that wild? Like, your DNA in your body, if you took it and stretched it out, it would go to the sun and back 150 times. So just mind-boggling. But there's another thing to that, which I thought was really interesting. But if you took all the DNA out of the almost 7 billion people on the planet and scrunched it together, it would fit in a space as small as a grain of rice. So, wild stuff, wild stuff. Here's another one. What Dr. Joe Dispenza does is he gives you a scientific basis for being able to change who you are, how to make the changes in your life, how to get to that point. And he tells you how it happens scientifically, what neuroplasticity is all about, how we can train our brain, like we actually train it and create the pathways we want to have in our brain. And he gives you the how-tos to do that and the scientific data that goes along with that. So this is another mind-blowing thing. You talking about your brain, which is at least 75% water and is the consistency of soft-boiled egg. Yuck! That is made up of 100 billion nerve cells called neurons. 100 billion. Okay. So here's where it gets really mind-boggling. For example, your neocortex, your thinking brain, has about 10,000 to 40,000 connections per neuron. Okay, that's 10,000 to 40,000 per neuron, and you have over 100 billion of them in your brain. Okay, so the next time you say, I can't do that, stop and think. You have 100 billion neurons, and all of those neurons have 10 to 40,000 connections. You might want to rethink that can't. Anyway, that's Joe Dispenza. And the book, I'm telling you guys, the book is incredible. I can't, he explains how you are, the habits you've created over your lifetime, and how that dictates how you live your life. And it's really, really fascinating. Okay, so let's see now. What I wanted to talk to you about today a little bit, and damn that focus. I'm going to have to make sure. Give me a second. I'm going to see if I can fix this. Okay, so let's see if I can change that. My autofocus has somehow gotten in. Okay. Okay, hopefully I fixed that problem with the focus. It's there's a stupid autofocus function on this webcam, and you can't, it's hard to override it. So I can go into Skype and override it, and a few other things. Actually, I think I just read something about now where did I read that? A study was done recently where some people that were 70 to 80 years old were put on a bus and taken to a monastery outside of, so it was like about 200 miles north of Boston, to a monastery. And the purpose of their 5-day visit was everything was set up to take them back so they could pretend that they were 30 years younger. I believe it was 30 years younger. So everything was set up in their environment that represented what things were like 30 years ago. So when they walk into this place, all the television programs and everything were from 30 years ago. All the books were from 30 years ago. And they were to live for 5 days. They were to live in the monastery and imagine and pretend that they were 30 years younger. So than the 70 and 80 years old they were. And then they started taking measurements. I think it was in this book. And the remarkable thing is their physiology started to change almost right away. Their fingers got longer, the arthritis in arthritis in their fingers and so on lessened. Their fingers grew. They grew taller. They had more cognitive ability, and all of that just from pretending that they were 20 or 30 years old. They didn't take any medication or anything. So it goes to the power of our mind and how we're preconditioned to think certain things, and that if we can change things dramatically by changing how we think about them. So awesome stuff. It's mind-blowing. So which is why I wanted to go back to to-do list here because I've been playing around with to-do lists, and yeah, really. So I've got to remember that there's about a minute delay on this broadcast too. So I have to remember that you're a minute behind me. Got to think these out. So I wanted to talk about, let me get back to where I wanted to start, and that is I have a silly list called First Principles. And the first principle I've come up with is, and this is just my own list and playing around, you don't have to do anything. However, you do have to accept the consequences. So basically, if you're doing things that you don't want to do, then it's time to re-examine those things. And the second principle is attitude is everything. So you can change the first principle by changing your attitude to it. You are what you think most of the time. That is why it's so important to think positive thoughts. Yeah, thanks, Ken. So you don't have to do anything. And this is why I wanted to talk about to-do lists. You don't have to do anything, but you don't have to pay your mortgage, for instance. But you also have to accept the consequences of not paying your mortgage. So what the purpose of all this is rephrasing so that you're not in a negative position. So you're not coming from a negative. So you might want to write down, for instance, when it comes to mortgage, why would I love to pay my mortgage? And come up with maybe 10 things you would love about paying your mortgage. So I'd love to provide a home for my family. I love to have a nice warm home to come home to. I love that I have a place to store my car. I don't know, anything, whatever you come up with. So you're reframing a negative into a positive, which is sort of to Ken's point. And a lot of times we do to-do lists because we should do them. Everybody saw you need to have a to-do list. John does his thing on the board where he has 3 things you're going to do that day. But to-do lists, sometimes they're not put things on there, but is it something you love to do? So I wanted to change the wording around to what I'd love to do today list. So these are the things I would love to do today, so that you put on your list and reframe it. So for instance, to be quite honest and frank, I'm not totally enamored with surfing. It's not my favorite thing to do. However, some of the things that you can do while surfing is I get to chat with people, and I love to chat with people, and I have fun chatting. So there's a different way of looking at it. The other thing about surfing that I like to look at the creativity that people put in when they create their own splash pages and create their own thing. Those are some of the things, some of the reasons why I would enjoy surfing. The actual act of surfing, if that's all I was doing, I wouldn't ever do it, honestly. So, or I love to listen to the music Brian puts on his Traffic Exchange. If you haven't been there, you should. Brian, if you have a link, you throw it up. To listen to the music. It's awesome to do that. So how do you reframe it to things that you love to do? So when you're doing your to-do list tomorrow, maybe change it to what I would love to do today, and then write your list. Now, the other thing, because I'm talking about getting out from between the lines, instead of doing your list in a 1, 2, 3, 4 list like that, is to do a circle. And I'm playing with this. I haven't come up with anything brilliant or anything unusual, but what I've done, I've been playing with the to-do list, because one of the things that happens to me, and I don't know whether it happens to you guys, but I tend to get swamped with this part of my to-do list, which is daily tasks, actions on daily tasks. So, oh, thanks, Brian. That's awesome. Thanks for putting that up there. And if any of you here have not been to Sound and Surf Live yet, please go. It's amazing. Anyway, daily tasks. So if you're being completely swamped on your to-do list by daily tasks, then it's time to really look at that, because I was being swamped here and I wasn't getting into this part of my to-do list. And this is my major projects. So you have to find a balance, some way of working your to-do list. Janelle says she'd go crazy. You guys can see the chat there, that if mine looked like this. I'm just playing around. It doesn't really look like this, but I wanted to play around for the show today. So I'm just trying to put my thoughts out there and figure out how can we do this a little differently. One of the things you could easily do, Janelle, though, is to do put up, instead of putting to-do lists, what I'd love to do today, because it does change how you approach it, because it's no longer I have to do. Because if it's I have to do, you're forcing yourself to do something, and that's a negative right away. So, you know, and again, it's how we think. How do we rephrase what we're thinking? So what I did, I just played around, because one of the things I have is a daily practice, and I do that except for on the weekends. Sometimes I give myself a little bit of a break, but I have a daily practice that I do, and that's in the morning before I start, in quotes, work, and that is I meditate. I exercise. So Felix and I, once I've meditated, Felix and I get dressed and we head out. Well, Felix doesn't have to get dressed. Felix is my dog, just in case you don't know. Felix gets dressed. I get dressed. Felix doesn't have to. And we go out for a walk in the neighborhood. One of the things we try to do is always take a different route every day. But we go and do 3 to 4K every morning. So I do my meditation exercise, and then when I come back, it's breakfast, and I do reading and journaling during breakfast. Then I'm ready to get set up for the day. Oh, hey, Winter, awesome, great to have you on board. Good to see you. So that is one chunk, really. If you look at this as your day, this is one chunk of my day that's critical to me. I wouldn't function without doing these things, okay? So then there's daily actions. And there are things like, for me, there's Facebook. There's surfing, like I like to do 50 pages a day, or as a member of the team, I like to stay around number 10 on the team, because I'm not one of those people who's going to spend the whole day surfing. I just can't do that. But I'd like to maintain somewhere around a 10 rating in the list of our team of 25 team members. So, so there's that. There might be writing emails, newsletters, videos, all those sort of things are daily actions. Then I have knowledge-based actions. Those are where you're learning to do something new or different or improving something, or For me, one of my knowledge-based actions is learning how to use this vehicle better than I do right now. So that's knowledge-based. And then I had my major projects, which I weren't getting to because the daily to-do lists were driving those away. So what I've done is I put in a space for that, and now I make sure, because my real passion and love is in here, right, is number one, I have a project I'm working on, a journaling course that I'm creating. And so I've been polling people, and I've asking people questions so I can get an idea of what people would like to see if they were to buy a journaling course. What sort of things would they like to do? Okay, in the journaling. So, or what were the challenges with journaling? So I've got those basics down, and I'm working on that. So there's a project that I wasn't getting to because I wasn't able to escape this. And then is the other one is for the other side of my life, Beautiful Summer Morning, where I have a newsletter, and I'm working on my funnel on that side, because on the other side, the funnel is pretty there for us already. I mean, through TimTech, the funnel is there. We just have to figure out how to present it in a way that's going to attract people into our funnel. So, I'm trying to develop one for the Beautiful Summer Morning side of it, and basically the programs that I sell on the other side are much higher. They cost more to get into, so the entry level is higher on the other side. So, so it's a project that I'm working on, and I haven't done enough on this. And basically, I want to create my own entry-level course into Beautiful Summer Morning, so that I've got something, because right now I use Andrew Sharp's list building course as an entry-level course in the Nicholas Grimshaw side of things. So, okay, take a breath. All right, so so that's how, and I encourage people to change it up and to do something differently, even with their to-do list, Janelle. Not to point anybody out specifically, but to tweak it, play with it. Don't be afraid to change it. Excuse me. I don't know how Marion does that. She always drinks water off camera. I don't know how she manages to do that. So there we go. So I just played with this, and I'm going to continue to play with it until I find something that really kind of goes, oh, you got it, you got it. So, so that's what I wanted to show you there. And I thought it was, I have a quote. This is on my calendar. I thought it was kind of neat. Imperfection is beauty. Madness is genius. And it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than absolutely boring. Ah, you like that? That's Marilyn Monroe. Who says beauty doesn't have brains? So that's cool, isn't it? It's really cool. So imperfection is beauty. Madness is genius. And it's better to be absolutely ridiculous than boring. So I hope I'm being more ridiculous than I am boring. Okay, yeah, it is. It's an awesome quote. So I wanted to go to something else. Oh, by the way, thank you, John. If you guys aren't getting this, aren't subscribing, you really ought to subscribe to Success Magazine. And this month, they've gone to their new format, and it's beautiful. I don't know whether you've seen it yet, John, but the new format is, I just love it. It's they've gone to higher grade of paper. It's not as glossy, but it's much easier to read outside when it's sunny. There's always one of these. Where is it? Where is it? Where's my that? There's a CD in every copy. I have a stack of them now. They're in my car. I listen to them all the time. So just in case, I get a lot of material out of this magazine. And this is where my next little thing I wanted to talk about. And this is an article out of the July issue of Success Magazine. And I thought it was really interesting. And oh, okay, yeah. I don't know whether it's out on the newsstand yet, but oh, really? John C. Maxwell, new book from John C. Maxwell. He has an article in here, guys. Every month there's a John C. Maxwell article, which eventually finds its way into his books. So I can't say enough about having this. So right now, the title of this was "May I Ask Me a Question," which kind of caught my eye to begin with. And it's successful people check themselves daily with these 5 wonders. So one of the things about being in business, creating a business, scaling a business is an inquiring mind. One that doesn't stick to the same thing every day, that you're going to ask yourself some questions. Oh, okay, sounds good. So you're going to ask yourself some questions about what you're doing. And one of those should be, am I still loving what I'm doing? Because things change. The way you're doing things changes. So maybe you need to do a tune-up of some sort. But anyway, the first question is, am I in the right niche? And this is so important in our industry because so many people haven't found their niche. And so what happens when you don't have a niche is you're all over the place. And you guys, you can see it. I mean, most of you are seasoned veterans here. You've been in the traffic exchanges, and you know that people are jumping around all over the place. And one week they're promoting this, and the next week they're promoting that, and the next week they're promoting something else, and they don't have a voice. Okay, but I mean, Winter is a wonderful example of somebody who is in a niche and is really strongly in her niche, which is awesome. So it is, are you in the right niche? And that's a good question to stop and ask yourself. Even if you started out with passion by the bucketful, that can fade. This is why it's important to routinely assess your motivation. Finding a niche that sustains you emotionally would give you the clear mind and drive that you need to succeed. So just that first question to ask yourself, it's easy to get caught up in day to day. I got to do this, I blah, 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 all these things. I need to blah, 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 blah. And you forget, you stop. You don't realize that you're no longer enjoying what you do. And that's why we're all here, is to enjoy what we do. And I wouldn't be doing this, sitting in front of the camera, if I didn't enjoy it. And frankly, getting my voice back, I haven't done a weekly program like this for quite some time, and getting back that rhythm was difficult, and it's still a little difficult. I'm still not totally comfortable, but I'm getting there. But I love this, right? So I love the flow of information. We live in such an exciting time when so much is being discovered and learned, and there are so many ways to break out between the lines now that it's almost unforgivable not to get yourself out between the lines. I should tell you, I went to Fiverr to get a logo for getting out between the lines. I wish I had a picture of it. I'll have to remember for next week the logo that came back to me. And I specifically said, this is what the show is about, and it's getting out between the lines. So I want an image where, you know, the lines are bending and somebody is trying to get out between the lines, and I want the lettering sort of all over the place to kind of emphasize that idea. And what I got back was it was a picture of a lined notebook, and in the middle line it's nicely written in a nice font, getting out from between the lines. No color, nothing. That was it. So I kindly wrote back and said it wasn't acceptable, and then he said, well, how can I change it up? And so I actually squiggled out a sort of graphical idea of that, and I get back saying, well, I'll need another $5 because you've changed the format. So sometimes getting out between the lines. Hi, Gary. Good to see you. Awesome to have you on board. So anyway, okay, so back to this. It was just an aside. I don't know why I mentioned it, but I am trying to find a logo that will fit with the program. So I probably need to go to Rhonda and get her to do it because, you know, she's so good at things. Okay. Am I learning from my mistakes is the second question. Okay, so again, stop and reflect. We all make mistakes. I know I do all the time. I do a squeeze page or splash page, and afterwards I go, what were you thinking? You know, like, are we learning from that? Are we learning from things that we do that don't work, right? What's our lesson from that? And one of the things here it says, which I disagree with, but it says when you hit a roadblock, take time to evaluate, and I'm going to change his wording, but he says what went wrong. What I really think the wording should be, what would I do better next time, rather than looking for, we blame ourselves for enough things. We say things are wrong too many times to ourselves. It's better to go, what would I do better next time, and then think about how you would change what you did. How are you going to learn? Because it's not what you did is wrong, it just didn't work. And so you tried something, so you can't be wrong on that. You tried. A lot of people don't try, they don't do nothing, they don't get out there, they don't put themselves out there. And so to say that you did something wrong is the wrong way to look at it. Sorry. So what you need to do is look at it and say, okay, what can I learn from that mistake? Right, and go from there. Third one is, am I pushing my own boundaries? John loved that. You hear him talking about this all the time. Am I pushing my own boundaries? So creating new, more audacious goals and attempting to reach them will keep your passion ignited and keep you striving towards success. So if you're not pushing at your boundaries, you're going to end up shrinking. You always need to be pushing at the boundaries. That's its stretch, its growth. You can get comfortable in where you're at and think, well, look at TimTech. They could be very comfortable in where they're at, and not stretch and push their boundaries. But you notice that that's what they're always doing. And we can certainly take a lesson from that. You can't just sit back and expect that what you're doing is going to stay right all the time, because you're going to lose your passion for that. So passion comes from exploring those boundaries. Where can I push myself? What can I do next? That's where you're going to find your passion. So again, am I pushing my boundaries? So ask that. If you ask yourself that daily, you're going to be able to answer that and go, you know what, I need to find a way to push my boundaries. And obviously doing this, trying to do this as a regular show is pushing my boundaries, believe me. What is my game plan is the next question. While you are challenging yourself, you should also map out strategies that will allow you to become more efficient and precise. Sit down and create a physical map that will take you from where you are to where you want to go. I have a thing on, let's hang on for a second. I don't have it there. One of I'm going to be doing some goal setting, dream building and goal setting workshops as we get closer into the end of the year, because we all need to be thinking about how we're doing this year and how we're going to set up our next year. And one of those is having a clear, precise plan. And that clarity is everything. And it's one of those principles I'm talking about. I have 7 principles. I'll read them off. Right now, I'm just talking about you don't have to do anything. That you shouldn't be doing something that you have to do, that you need to change your attitude, because attitude is everything, on that to take it into a positive. So, so what is your game plan? Have a game plan. Don't just do this and that and this. Have it congruent. So if you're posting on Facebook and Twitter, how does that fit in with your game plan? If it doesn't, maybe you shouldn't be doing it, or maybe you should have a game plan so that you know the purpose of doing a Twitter or putting up a Facebook post or using any type of social media. And finally, how are we doing? Okay, we're good. Do I still believe I can do this? The highest ambitions are nothing without the conviction that you can actually reach them. Skills and know-how are less than half the battle. If you don't believe you can do it, it'll be hard to convince anyone else you can. So belief internally, it's part of being congruent, is that you believe in what you're doing and that you can get to where you want to go. This year has been an amazing year for me in that on the other room there, on the other side, is my vision board for this year, and it's frankly astonishing how much of that vision I've been able to achieve. And some of them have been really big steps for me this year, because I called this year my breakout year. And honestly and truly, it has been that. More so not so much online as offline, in that soon I'm going to be teaching a workshop called, it's gone from my head right just then. And it's an abundance workshop. Abundance, oh, it's gone right on my head. But anyway, we'll be teaching that. Oh, Abundance for Life. Okay, so I've teamed up with a lady I met here in London, and we are going out and we've set it up. We're going to do two workshops on that, and then we're going to deliver a full day workshop. Now, one of my dreams has always been to deliver a workshop. So this year, when I found it was sticking again, I wasn't getting anywhere, I realized I needed help. And so in another workshop that I was attending, I met this lady who had a similar desire to me. And I finally said to her, what do you think? I have the script. I bought the rights to do this. Do you think you would like to help me with it? And she said yes. And we've been working step by step by step to getting there. And then the next amazing thing happened on that is that I am also going to be delivering another workshop. This is volunteer, but it's a way for me to practice, because practice makes perfect, to practice delivering another workshop called Prosperity Plus. And it's from Mary Morrison, and it's delivered through Unity of London, which is a sort of a spiritual group here in London. And I'm going to be able to do that workshop. And it's awesome because that's the workshop I did at the beginning of the year that's kind of moved me forward. So anyway, all of this is great. So just to quickly highlight those questions to ask yourself: am I in the right niche? Am I learning from my mistakes? Am I pushing on my boundaries? What is my game plan? Do I still believe I can do this? Okay, so that final question, I take you back to Joe Dispenza and all of the sort of research that's coming out, the research in quantum physics, the research on neuroplasticity. Everything is saying that we have unlimited potential. Within us, there is unlimited potential. And that we do have the ability to go after those things that are our passions. And that if we focus on that, we focus on our passions, and we move back to John and +1, step by step, we get there. And I did a post, I still got time, okay. I did a post earlier this week on 3 things that I look at every day before I start my day. These are quick things that I do that take no time at all. And these are things I highly, highly recommend that you do to expand your brain, to expand your horizons, to expand the possibilities, because you are unlimited. And quantum physics says that. And you have 100 billion neurons, and each of those neurons have 10 to 40,000 connections. Now, if you do the math on that, you're approaching infinity. Okay, so within this here, in here, you have an infinity of ability. It's mind-boggling. But the 3 things that I do every day is Steph Godin's blog. I really, really, really can't tell you how fantastic this man is in every day. In a very short paragraph or 2, he manages to like totally get you to think about something, and to get you to think about something in a way you probably haven't thought about it before. So I think I have a link. Hang on. Here's a link to the last one. Come on. Yeah, there it is. That's to a Steph Godin Godin blog. If you go to Steph Godin and click on that and subscribe to his blog, I honestly guarantee you that at least 2 or 3 times a week it'll blow your mind. Really. The other person that isn't as well known, I don't think, but there's so much information coming at us. There's so many awesome books to read that honestly we don't get a time to read them all. But there is somebody, and let's see, I don't think I can do, let's see if I can screen share this. Hang on, guys. Let's see. I want to be able to get to, this is the one thing I haven't quite, oh, that's my notepads. So maybe this is it. Let's see. No. Okay, I haven't quite figured out how to, oh, here. Let's see if I can get you where I want you to, whoops, there. Okay, now I don't know, I can't come back. Now this is one thing that's different from Google Hangouts, is I can't come back to that screen and see this, but this is, I'm just gonna cancel and come back in, but I don't know whether you can see that, the pain paradox, remember cows and buffalo. So let me come back and stop the screen sharing. Now, did anybody, could you see that screen share? Anybody? Did you see the Brian Johnson screen share? Because this is something I'm still trying to work out using this. It's the only one that seems to be a little more complicated, and I'm going to have to go in and redo the tutorial for that. Anybody see that screen share? Okay, I'm just gonna go back to it. And Brian Johnson, if you do a search for him, he is let me see, what's his stuff called? He's the Philosopher's Notes. He does the Philosopher's Notes, and he covers a lot of books that come out. And he does synopsises and videos on the book. So this is one I thought was really, really interesting. It comes from a book called Take the Stairs by Rory Vaden. I think that's Vaden. I think maybe Vaden. And so I'm going to read this to you. So counterintuitively, an easy life in the long term comes from the sacrifice of completing more difficult tasks here and now. But the paradigm shift, insight, and breakthrough that successful people have made that, oh, I'm messing this up. Let me try that again. But the paradigm shifting insight and breakthrough that successful people have made that many others have not is that often these more difficult activities are only necessary for a short time. So what brings us the pain paradox of decision making that starts the short-term easy leads to the long-term difficult. So in other words, if you're doing the easy in the short term because it's easy, in the long term it's more difficult. So what he's saying is the paradox is if you do the short-term difficult, it leads to long-term easy. So I thought that was really interesting. The great paradox is that what we thought was the easy, what looks like the easy, what seems like the easy way very often leads us to creating a life that couldn't be more opposite of easy. And inversely, the things that we thought were most difficult, the challenges that appear to be the toughest, are the requirements that seem most rigorous at the very activities that lead us to a life of easy that we all want. So in other words, it's counterintuitive. We do the easy things because we think that's what's going to be easy, but in doing the easy things, it leads us to long-term difficulties. Okay. Do you get all that? Wow. But that's Brian Johnson. So if you're not reading Brian Johnson, again, it's mind-blowing. And what I want and what I am passionate about is getting out from between the lines. If you're hearing that, where are you, Felix? There's my doggy. He's decided he wanted to interrupt me. And he's making noise. Go lie down. Go on. I'll be there in a minute. Go on. So anyway, Brian Johnson, and the other one is Darren Hardy. So Darren Hardy is the other person that is really awesome everyday coach. It's like having a coach. And I know I can't afford Darren Hardy as a coach, a personal coach, but you know, going to his free Darren's Daily every day makes a big difference. Let me see if I can get you a link for that as my last link. I'll see if I can get you up here we go. Okay, did that come up? Yeah, there it is. So that, if you go there and subscribe, honestly, none of these things take very long. Even if you only do it once a week, although Steph Godin really every day. Are you okay, Felix? Yes, I'm going to come. I'll be right there. I'm just ending the broadcast. Okay, so that's basically everything I have for today. If you go to the top of the chat, oh no, you can't get back there. I would really love to have you on my list. And here's my list. And right now, Marion's beating me, and I don't want Marion to beat me. She's won more than me so far. So please help me beat Marion. So that's all it's about, is beating Marion. And join my list. And I will be back. I will do this on Fridays. Hopefully at 2:30 on Friday, or 2 o'clock Fridays. And I'm contemplating like a half hour on Monday to kick off the week, because that's an important time. But, you know, John and Justin do their show then, their podcast, which is really awesome to listen to as well. Okay, anybody have any questions? Anything you want to say? Otherwise, we'll end the broadcast. And I wish you all an awesome weekend, and just go out there, get out from between the lines, and blow your brain. And I don't know whether John's still on. He may be getting ready for T Live. I'm not sure there's a T Live. yet. So I want to thank you all for showing up. Really appreciate it. Awesome to have you in chat. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Have an awesome day.